One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Kevin Hurley. Kevin is the Senior Associate Athletics Director for Facilities and Construction at Texas A&M University. Greetings, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, Kevin, you've been at Texas A&M for 25 years. Currently, as we just mentioned, you're the Senior Associate for Facilities and Construction. In the past, you've been in recruiting coordinator for basketball. You've worked in basketball operations, among other things. You're also a sport administrator for baseball and equestrian, but it's your main role in facilities and constructions that I want to talk to you about. You've been a point person on a number of different high-dollar projects, multi-million-dollar projects, and of course, we're talking about Texas A&M, where everything is huge, almost rambunctiously huge, to the benefit to the benefit of the fans, alumni, and everybody who supports.
It's always
Texas.
bigger in Texas.
Right, exactly. I'm gonna go down the list here of some of the things you were involved in. You got the baseball stadium, which is Bluebell Park, the Equine Complex. You have the Football Player Development Center, the expansion of the Bright Building Slocum Nutrition Center, the Center for Aggie Basketball, the Indoor Athletic Complex, the Soccer Stadium, Kyle Field, West Campus Player Development Center, and currently under construction is the Outdoor Track Stadium and the Softball Stadium. That is a lot that you have accomplished since you've been there, and I do congratulate you on being able to do that much.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an honor to be involved with all of those projects.
All right. In terms of your role, and I don't know if you can speak for everybody else who is in a similar position, but definitely for you there at Texas A&M with all these things you've been involved in, what exactly is your role in all these endeavors, and how much influence do you have when it comes to, I guess, the design, selecting the companies that do the actual work, and anything else that is involved with these projects?
Well, and Ty, thanks for asking, and thanks for involving me in this question. And from that standpoint, I'd like to think that my role is very similar to a handful of us across the country. There are many people who are in my position at various universities and colleges, and I'd like to think that we are the coordinator. That's the big word. So the first thing is you've got to do is you've got to come up with the big thought process in terms of what facility you're going to go after next, whether you're going to build it, renovate it, modify it, and so then you've got to go after that somehow, get the architect involved, get the architect through the state purchasing process, get to all of the paperwork or administrative stuff done to get yourself an architect and get going down the road with what you're going to do to XYZ facility. And then from there, you've got to get work product out of that so that you can get something out to the various contractors to get some idea. Are you in budget? Are you out of budget? Have you set a budget? You obviously are working with the coach, administrators, many times lead donors of a project you're involved with, so it's a committee. It's sure not done in isolation. It's sure not done in a silo. It's done as a collaborative, collegial process, and so you're there to make sure it all gets tied together. You're there keeping the ball rolling, keep pushing to get the facility underway, to get it in construction, to get it built, and then to get it open. So that's the process in a very, very quick deal. Obviously, I'm at a state school, so we have state purchasing rules and regulations. You have administrative processes. You have various on-campus authorities that you have to go through, whether it's the design review board or the fire marshal or whoever it might be.
Right. And I guess when it comes to identifying architects and identifying people who will actually do the work and even the design, do you have say-so in that actual decision, or is like you said, it's a committee? I guess everyone has their own opinion, or how exactly does that process work?
Well, again, taking the purchasing requirements out of the discussion that the university, as a state university, has, there are certain architects across the country, even locally, even regionally, that are specialists in a respective type of construction, whether it's a swimming and diving facility, whether it's a football stadium, whether it's a basketball, an indoor track, or whatever it might be. There are architects across the country, regionally and locally, that have specialties. And so you want to make sure you're doing your research to bring those people to the table to let them make their best presentation so that we select the right architect. Am I the push, the lead, the coordinator, however you would like to phrase it in that process? For sure. But again, we want it to be an inclusive process, so we have several people on our campus who will sit down in a room, interview the architects, do that as a process, and then we'll come out with the best choice.
I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, you guys did a big renovation for Kyle Field, the football field out there, Texas A&M. How far in advance do you get started on a project, specifically when you're talking about from ideation or the initial concept to raising funds, etc.? How far in advance do you get activated on a project before construction starts?
Yeah, it's and Kyle Field being a $450 million project is an anomaly to every other project that I've done and frankly that I see out there in the collegiate landscape. It is a whole different deal. So you spend basically 2 years in the architectural process, which means a year before that you're going through all of the financial modeling and what do we want to do and the big 10,000-foot thought process before you draw a line on a piece of paper. So, you're talking about 3 years before you turn a scoop of dirt. And then obviously we decided to do it between football seasons, so it probably actually expanded the construction, but it made the construction more concentrated. So, we're talking 3 football seasons that affected. So if you really want to get down to it, it's probably a 5 or 6 year total commitment, and in 2 or 3 of those years, you're working every day except Christmas Day type thing on doing that, whether it's the design process or the actual construction. Because when you go, you've got to go quickly to get it done between football seasons, and that was the biggest deal that I'm looking through maroon-colored glasses, so to speak. But nobody will try to do that again in terms of put that much construction, that much short of a time, and play football on both ends of the construction.
Right. Well, I bet you're proud that you got it done, right?
Oh,
That's
100%. And that's the big thing. That's why I say it's really been an honor to be involved in every one of these, because every one of these projects has been a challenge and an opportunity out at the same time.
Right. Well, you mentioned challenge. That comes to another question I have. Of course, you've done all these facility projects. Which aspects of a facility project prove to be the most challenging, and how do you or how have you met and overcome the challenges?
Well, every project is different. Every project has its, for lack of a better way to say, its respective challenges. So most of the time, the obvious ones are always scope and budget. What does the budget allow? What does the scope want to be? And how do you get that built within the time frame that you're allocated? So everything that is a challenge becomes an opportunity in a construction project or in a renovation or in a new facility. Obviously, they're always different on any given project, but from the standpoint of budget, scope, and time.
Right, right. When you're in a position you are in, and like others around the country, you can make a decision based on what you think is best. What type of decision needs to go to the athletic director? Obviously, finances, right?
Yeah. Well, again, different projects involve the different athletic directors that I have been involved with, because certain athletic directors have an affinity for more or less information. Some have an affinity for different projects because they're really involved in that sport or really involved in whatever it might be. And so it's all about the particular situation. And that's why I, again, say each project is a challenge and an opportunity at the same time. So for one example, football, I mean, that involves everybody. I mean, you're talking about the lion's share of revenue to any athletic department, let alone Texas A&M. And so from that standpoint, you have to understand that everybody needs to be involved from the top down. Everybody who's got to work in it, because it's such a big operating expense, has got to be involved in it. So the bottom up, so to speak. So again, each project has its own challenges, own merits, and I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't have challenges with some sort of budget issue, some sort of Does this get in the project? Does this not get in the project? Boy, it would sure be nice to do this, but we can't afford that.
Right. I imagine that goes on around the country.
Every time, every project.
Our last question for you is, do you and other people who work in facilities, do you guys call each other and ask questions about how to deal with different things that may happen while you're working on a project?
Oh, 100%. There's really, and I may be biased in this, but there's really no new ideas. There is really just a different way to put everything together. Right. And so to see, and again, remember, a good portion of these facilities are for fan amenities, which are cyclical and change as time moves on. You have a good portion of these that are recruiting based, so you want to know what the other guy is doing or the other gal is doing to know what you have to compete against. So 100%. I mean, when I go on a road trip or when one of my counterparts comes on a road trip here, they're asking for a facility tour, and we're doing a facility tour when I go to another facility. And again, there's no secrets. There's nothing hidden because we're putting these out on, whether it's social media or putting them out on press releases, on websites, on whatever it might be. So there's really nothing hidden. And yeah, us in the facilities management and athletic director world, that it's for sure sharing. It's open. It's pretty much, come see what we've got. We're going to want to come see what you got, and we continue to evolve.
All right. Well, this has been excellent information, Kevin. It's kind of a peek inside the mind of facilities, people who run facilities on these college campuses in terms of athletics, and especially down at Texas A&M where everything is huge, and you guys have done a whole lot, especially since you've been there at Texas A&M. I just want to thank you for joining us on One Question.
Ty, thank you very much for having me.
That was Kevin Hurley. He's the Senior Associate Athletics Director for Facilities and Construction at Texas A&M University, and this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.